In the name of Allah, the most compassionate, the most merciful. We had reached verse number 108 in the second chapter of the Quran, the chapter of the cow. We actually completed that verse and we will go on to verse number 109, but I'll just remind you. Verse number 108, أم تريدون أن تسألوا رسولكم كما سئل موسى من قبل ومن يتبدل الكفر بالإيمان فقد ضل سواء السبيل. Or would you question your messenger as Moses was questioned earlier? Whoever exchanges belief for disbelief undoubtedly strays from the even path. We talked about this verse. Then the following verse reads as follows. وَدَّ كَثِيرٌ مِّنْ أَهْلِ الْكِتَابِ أعوذ بِاللَّهِ مِنَ الشَّيْطَانِ الرَّجِيمِ. I seek refuge with Allah from the accursed Satan. It reads as follows. وَدَّ كَثِيرٌ مِّنْ أَهْلِ الْكِتَابِ لَوْ يَرُدُّونَكُمْ مِنْ بَعْدِ إِيمَانِكُمْ كُفَّارًا حَسَدًا مِّنْ عِنْدِ أَنفُسِهِمْ مِنْ بَعْدِ مَا تَبَيَّنَ لَهُمُ الْحَقُّ فَاعْفُوا وَاصْفَحُوا حَتَّى يَأْتِيَ اللَّهُ بِأَمْرِهِ إِنَّ اللَّهَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ قَدِيرٌ. Of course, as you see, the sequence of these verses is sometimes responding directly to the people of the book with regards to the doubts and questions and objections they bring to the coming of the Prophet Muhammad and the revelation of the Quran. And sometimes it warns the Muslims from listening to these false accusations. And as you saw the previous verse, Allah is warning the Muslims against bringing up such false objections to their messenger as to his teachings or what kind of miracles he brings forth according to what Allah reveals to him and so on. Because this is what some people from the previous nations did with their messengers. Whenever they brought them all these miracles and still they were not satisfied. They wanted more and more and more, and they wanted what they suggest and what they request and demand, not what Allah chooses to give them. As you saw, after all the miracles Moses did, they said, لَن نُؤْمِنَ لَكَ حَتَّى نَرَى اللَّهَ جَهْرًا. We won't believe in you until we see Allah face to face. And the pagans did the same. As I said in the previous class, they said to him, we won't believe in you unless you point and you bring those springs gushing out of the land, or you fly up in the sky, or Allah gives you a house made out of gold, and so on. And أو تأتي بالله والملائكة قبيلا, or you bring and show us Allah and the angels face to face. We want to see them with our own eyes. All these suggestions that are not within what Allah allows human beings to demand. Allah says, وَرَبُّكَ يَخْلُقُ مَا يَشَاءُ وَيَخْتَارُ مَا كَانَ لَهُمُ الْخِيرَةُ. It is He, Allah, who creates whatever He wills, in whatever form or shape He wills. وَيَخْتَارُ, and He chooses whatever He wills within His creation. مَا كَانَ لَهُمُ الْخِيرَةُ. The choices were not given to the human beings in that matter. Allah, none of us have chosen anything with regards of how we were created, where we were created, to what parents we were created, if you're healthy or not healthy. You don't have choices. When you will die, when you were born, all these things. Most of what we live through in this life, most of it actually is not within our control. Most of the organs within our bodies we don't control, right? Nobody is making their heart function or their lung function or their eye or nothing. But human beings become arrogant and they start, demanding and questioning. They should be grateful that Allah, with His honor and majesty, has chosen to guide them and to show them the way to reach eternal happiness, rather than, objecting and refusing and so on. So that's why Allah says, do you want to act like previous nations acted towards their prophets? And then Allah tells us that these objections and whispering that the Muslims are hearing from people from previous nations and previous scriptures are not because these people have good intentions towards the Muslims. Actually, to the contrary. You can see here that Allah is telling us their real intention when they bring up all these doubts about the Quran or the Prophet or Allah. Allah says, among وَدَّ كَثِيرٌ مِّنْ أَهْلِ الْكِتَابِ. Actually, the translation, I never find the translation to be very accurate. It says here, وَدَّ كَثِيرٌ مِّنْ أَهْلِ الْكِتَابِ. Many, no, it's not among, but many of the people of the book, people of the previous scriptures, many of them wish they could turn you back from your belief to disbelief. out of envy within themselves, even after receiving the clear truth, من بعد ما تبين لهم الحق, which shows that they're not doing this unintentionally. They're doing this knowingly that this is the truth, but they just cannot accept it for many different reasons. Everybody has his own reasons why he will not accept what is the truth. Even us, we know so many things, and we just sometimes do not show full acceptance or full abiding by it. But to disbelieve in Allah and reject Allah and totally refuse that's a big problem. So here he says, حَسَدًا مِنْ عِنْدِ أَنفُسِهِمْ, because they have this envy within them, although they know it is the truth, but they still do not want to accept it, and they do not want you to continue following this way. They want to bring you back to disbelief again. حَسَدًا مِنْ بَعْدِ مَا تَبَيَّنَ لَهُمُ الْحَقُّ. Then Allah teaches the believers as to how to respond to this. فَاعْفُوا وَاصْفَحُوا حَتَّى يَأْتِيَ اللَّهُ بِأَمْرِهِ. But Allah says, forgive and forbear until God's command comes. فَاعْفُوا. Al-afu means not to reciprocate. If somebody does evil to you, you do not do evil back to them. You don't reciprocate aggression with aggression. فَاعْفُوا. Safh means the side of the face is called safhat al-wajh. Means to overlook, even to ignore totally. Afu means not to pay back, not to reciprocate evil with evil. Safh means to forget and totally overlook. Fa'afu wasfahu. So it has two different meanings. Hatta ya'ti Allah bi amri. Until Allah brings forth. Here the translation says, until God's command comes. Actually, hatta ya'ti Allah bi amri means here that until Allah brings forth His decrees or His certain affairs or certain changes in the situation. Muslims were very little and they were a minority, and it was still an early mission. So here, حَتَّى يَأْتِيَ اللَّهُ بِأَمْرِ means until Allah fulfills and completes His revelation to His Prophet, until this revelation receives acceptance from the masses, and all these people who bring up these doubts are silenced, until Allah shows all His proofs within this revelation that will defeat any kind of accusations and doubts that are raised by people from other religions. And this has happened. هو الذي أرسل رسوله بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله. It is He who sent His messenger with guidance and the religion of truth, ليظهره على الدين كله, to make it prevail and supersede and basically become more prominent than all other religions on earth. And this has happened. There's not a single religion, a heavenly religion, that draws more following than Islam. And people are leaving other religions and coming to Islam. And that is quite obvious. Nobody can doubt that. Yes, many people are leaving all religions and going to atheism. That's a different story. Those are people who don't want to abide by anything. But when people are seriously looking for Allah's guidance, if they are serious and truthful, they end up landing in Islam. That always happens. ولو كره الكافرون هو الذي أرسل رسوله بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على الدين كله, to make it the most convincing, the strongest evidence-based religion. ولو كره الكافرون, despite the dislike of the disbelievers. So حتى يأتي الله بأمره just means just wait and see, just ignore all these things that they are bringing up to the early Muslims and to this early revelation that is still being revealed to you, because things will change and this religion will have a totally different status and a totally different following, and they will not be able to these accusations will basically be completely irrelevant one day. حتى يأتي الله بأمره. Also, حتى يأتي الله بأمره could mean that until this religion becomes dominant in Arabia, and it will be ruling the whole land in that area, and then people will, normally people follow who has the power as well, and they don't at least object to the people to people who have authority or power. حتى يأتي الله بأمره. Or it could also mean wait until, if they continue doing this evil of trying to sway people away from the religion of Allah, wait until Allah brings forth their reckoning and retribution directly from Allah. Their punishment can come directly from Allah. Or حتى يأتي الله بأمره could mean that wait until the day of judgment to see how I will recompense those, and how I will recompense those who have nothing better to do than to take people away from the path of Allah. So it could mean, amri means umuri, means any kind of final outcome that will show that what they are doing is totally evil. So you don't have to argue with them. Just keep following what Allah has commanded you, and what Allah has revealed to you. And that is why the verse was, we will conclude with this. That is why the verse was concluded with, Inna Allah ala kulli shay'in qadir. Allah is capable of all things. Because to make this religion the strongest religion, or to draw people in masses flocking to this religion, or to punish the detractors of this religion and adversaries of this religion, or to punish them in this life or in the next life, this all requires qudrah, requires power, right? Requires might. And that is why it was concluded with, Allah will take care of this. You just forgive and forget and overlook, and Allah is capable of taking care of this matter. That's because He is Inna Allah ala kulli shay'in qadir. We'll stop here. No.